The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy ho, everybody. Coming to you cordless. It's Wednesday night, December 17th, 2025. It's 9:01 on the East Coast of the United States right now and 6:01 on the West Coast. And here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8:01 Central Time. And you are looking live at me. I'm Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. We started 15 seconds late tonight, but it's still 9:01. So God bless us. How you doing? I'll tell you how I'm doing. The weather here tomorrow, it's going to be during the day 35 degrees, and then by midnight on Thursday night, it's going to be 0. That's not the wind chill. That's the actual temperature. It's going to fall 35 degrees in less than 12 hours. Fun, fun, fun. Also, I want to thank you folks if you're watching this live. The president should just be starting speaking right now. I don't have a television on here right now because I can't concentrate because I'm feeble. So I want to thank you for watching because I thought of delaying this, but I just realistically, the vast majority of people who watch us watch it on demand anyway. So I thought, screw it, let's just do it, and it'll be recorded. And but if you're watching live, God bless you, thank you. I don't know. I don't think I compete with the president as far as talking, but he's pretty good at talking. I don't even notice that. So tonight we have two guests. Corinne Cliford is joining us she's a White House beat reporter, but she's in Palm Beach this afternoon tonight, talking to us from Palm Beach. Delightful woman. She has a lot to say, and you'll hear that. We recorded this afternoon. So, yeah, she's a lot of fun. Second appearance on the show. I'm probably going to bring her back. I'm thinking like around once a month. We'll see. And also tonight, Julian Hagmann's joining us. He's the chief operating officer of Caring Professionals Incorporated in New York State. And he's going to talk to us about the scam that's going on in New York State regarding trying to unionize basically caregivers. That would be like, your grandmother taking care of your grandfather, that sort of thing. Your grandmother should belong to a union. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, that's tonight. And then I got a little Gymcast at the end. Going to be talking about Steven Spielberg's new movie and what that may have to do with you knowing about extraterrestrials. I like to talk about that because that movie's about extraterrestrials. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but it's kind of the same genre. I mentioned this. People are saying really it's a horror movie, but I don't know. We'll find out. We'll play the trailer too. And tomorrow, Leslie Corbley is going to be back here. Her second appearance on the show. She's promoting a new book that came out on October 21st, Progressive Prejudice, Exposing the Devouring Mother. She's a gas. It's just, I love talking to her. We were going to have her on the 2 days after the book came out, but she had a family emergency. So a little makeup here. So anyway, she's a lot of fun. She's a poet, and you don't see many right-wing poets. So that's kind of interesting. And then also Santa's going to be joining us by phone from the North Pole. Not on camera, I don't think anyway. That's the impression I'm under right now. He's calling in. He's going to call in and we're going to talk to him. So that's tomorrow. And then we're taking off for 2 weeks. I was going to do a show on Monday, and I thought, no. At first I thought, well, Christmas Eve is Thursday. No, Christmas Eve is Wednesday. And when I found that out, I thought, no, everyone's going to be shopping. No one's going to be around. Screw it. So we're taking the whole 2 weeks off, and we're going to come back on Monday, January 5th. Now, I should tell you, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to announce this again tomorrow officially, but I'm going to tell you that for the month of January, we're only doing 2 shows a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And I won't get into why that is, but we are. But February, I expect to go back to 4 days a week. But for 4 weeks, the 4 weeks in January, we're only doing 2 shows a week. So that's what's going on here. And I get to wander through the Minnesota winter weather, and you don't, or probably not anyway. I don't know how many people are watching it here in Minneapolis, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of yeah, it's going to be really the weather's going to suck until March. So here's in 12 seconds. Here's Corinne Cliford. Stay tuned, please. Joining us from a condominium in Palm Beach, Florida, White House beat reporter and all around fabulous babe, uh, uh, Corinne Clifford's joining us here from Palm Beach. So, why did you say you were in Palm Beach again?
So, General Flynn and his sister, Mary Flynn, who I think is one of the most incredible women on planet Earth at this time in history, have a very powerful charity called America's Future. And so last night they had their annual gala at Mar-a-Lago with Mike Tyson, who I actually know from Beverly Hills, and a whole slew of really powerful people. Obviously, Roger Stone, General Flynn's brother, Charles Flynn, who just finished what 40 years of service in the US military. So it was just a wide array of very interesting people, and not just the usual suspects, like really interesting people. And the one thing I really learned last night, which really stuck with me, is that, our US military right now is so underestimated, underevaluated by the current next generation of 25-year-old young men. And Secretary Kennedy, the leader of the HHS, has made it very clear to us with Mehmet Oz and all the people in President Trump's administration who are focused on the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. They said very clearly, and you're going to appreciate this, Jim, they said that under 60% of American men in their 20s are healthy enough to serve in our beloved US military at this time in history.
Well, I'm under the impression that recruitment in the military is way up from a couple of years ago. Isn't that true?
Recruitment is up, but finding a healthy young man who's not on the spectrum, who's not autistic, who could actually fight and take pride, take honor in fighting for the US Constitution around the world is really hard to find these days, because the health level of the next generation of young men is not good, and we need to change that.
Yeah. So, Corinne, what happened? So, I think that Robert Kennedy gets a very bad rap by a lot of people, who think he's anti-vaccine. It's way more complex than that. And I got to admit, I don't know if I agree with him on everything, but I know he's certainly not evil in the least bit. I mean, but people have talked about this forever, but there's some sort of point here, and that is all of a sudden autism among young people, among little kids, just skyrocketed. And so, like people can't figure out what the cause is. Now, I just heard a really interesting theory, and you've probably heard it too, that the problem isn't any one vaccine; it's the combination of vaccines. I didn't know this till recently, but when I was in school, we got 3 vaccines over the course until high school. Till you're 18. Now the typical thing is 11, and maybe some of these vaccines together. They don't test this stuff. They don't test it. They only test them. Do you have any thoughts on this at all?
Oh, of course, I cover all the HHS press conferences in Washington, D.C. The vaccine schedule for children 0 to 18 is actually at 72. And so
Hold on, hold on, hold
72
on. 70,
vaccines.
72 vaccines?
Before you're 18, yes, that's what they want you to do to stay in public school. And so, Secretary Kennedy, I know him personally and I know his family. He's one of the most incredible men. And yes, his children did get the COVID-19 vaccine. Even his wife, Cheryl, got the COVID-19 vaccine because they needed to work. In Los Angeles, it was a law, it wasn't a mandate
Right.
that we had to be vaccinated in Los Angeles in order to work, in order to go to a restaurant. So, a lot of people caved, and his kids, one of his sons goes to Harvard, so they got the vaccine. But Robert Kennedy Jr. is not anti vaccine, he is pro choice. He's pro your right to choose what you do with your mind, your body, your spirit. So he's pro choice. And he's saying what his administration and what his whole team at HHS are saying is it's too many vaccines at once, especially when you're born. President Trump has made this very clear. Why do you need hepatitis C? Hepatitis C is usually a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
Why do you need that the second you're born in a hospital? So they're trying to change the vaccine schedule, and they have to be aggressive about it, but they're getting so much pushback by mentally ill protesters that are death threatening. Secretary Kennedy gets more death threats than anyone I've ever met, just as many as probably President Trump. And just this week, a mentally ill congresswoman, a congressman, a congresswoman from Michigan, and they're getting paid to do this. I promise you. One is trying to get Secretary Kennedy to be impeached. She
Yeah.
introduced legislation in the House to impeach him. I'm not even going to say her name; it's not even worth it.
Right.
And
No.
another one is trying to get Secretary Hedgeseth impeached. So the pushback that President Trump and his administration get from Senate, from the House, is crazy, and from the activist judges, which are the biggest problem. In Washington, D.C., we can't win anything because the judges, which I covered this for 3 years as I covered most all the January 6th court cases in federal court, the judges hate President Trump and everyone in his administration. And if you support President Trump in any way, they will throw the book at you in Washington, D.C. None of them have been impeached. None of them have been sanctioned. And that's why Congress, starting in January, needs to get with the program and sanction and impeach. We have to impeach these biased judges.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm still shocked at 72 vaccines. That's absolutely nuts. That's crazy. That's just crazy shit, So is it any wonder? I mean, okay, if you took all those 72 vaccines, there's probably a likelihood that two of them together might cause autism.
From 0 to 18, 72 vaccines they want you to take to stay in public school.
It's just crazy. Now I want to run another thing by you too. I have a theory about the COVID vaccines. My theory is that it wasn't the original vaccines that were the problem. It was the booster shots. Because I don't know if you know this, the Cleveland Clinic, in retrospect, they did a huge study and they came to the conclusion that essentially none of the booster shots actually worked. You were more likely to get COVID if you had a booster shot than if you didn't. And so, that's kind of where I'm going. I got the two original COVID vaccines too, but I did not get the booster shots because I went to my doctor and she said, and I said, well, this is really weird. I said, I'm 70 years old. I've never been asked to take more than 2 shots for any vaccine ever. And she said, yeah, she actually said to me, she said, Jim, we've been wondering the same thing. And I thought, well, God, if my doctor doesn't know, and she's brilliant. I mean, this woman literally saved my life. It's like, if she doesn't know, Christ, I'm not going to do this. And I didn't. And I'm starting to wonder if that was actually the problem, the booster shots, not the original vaccines. So I don't
We're
know.
finding out that, and this is very well researched. A man named David Martin. I just went to his event on Monday. He's #1 in the field of the COVID-19 vaccine. He's made it very clear that potentially in the beginning, some of the first doses of the vaccine were weak and they didn't affect people. But then dose 2 was stronger. And then the boosters were really strong because they had enough time to make them stronger and stronger. But they affect every person that took them differently. But this is what's scary. I was told by David Martin on Monday in my interview with him that the test that they gave you, where they put it all the way up your nose, the
Yeah.
COVID-19 test, gave you COVID.
No, really? That's well, that doesn't surprise me in the least, but my God, that's nuts.
Because they pushed it all the way up your nose, so they got into the mucous membranes. You're not supposed to have something pushed all the way up your nose. People would bleed from these
Yeah.
tests, these COVID-19 tests, the home tests. They actually gave people COVID.
And if you follow this, ever watch my show, Corinne, you know that only the extraterrestrials stick stuff all the way up your nose. They have a reason for doing that. We don't. So
No, that's funny. That is funny. And, a lot of drug addicts and wild people in Los Angeles, do that. But I'm saying that they didn't get COVID-19. It was the COVID-19 test.
oh my
And
god,
remember, they used to require the test like 2 or 3
yeah,
times a week?
yeah. I took a couple of them. Yeah, right. It's terrible. And okay, so just moving on here because you just brought this up, crazy people. This thing with Rob Reiner and his family and his son is so tragic and so nuts. I mean, I gotta hold it. You mentioned this a couple of minutes ago. I gotta touch on this. I'm starting to come to the conclusion that literally maybe a quarter of the American adult population is now certifiably crazy, mentally ill.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's very serious, and I'm very concerned that I'm getting kind of I'm in agreement with you. And it's getting really deep because people who don't live with God, if you don't live with the living God, with real God, if you just go to church or pretend like you're an atheist, or if you don't really live with morals, values, and ethics, there are so many mentally ill people. I just got pushed out of an Uber by an Uber driver. He was black. He was in Washington, D.C. He hates President Trump. I was going to the White House. I was carrying a plant
Did
to
he know
give to
who
the
you
White
were?
House staff.
Did he know who you were?
Well, he knew because I was going to the White House and, look the way I look, and I was carrying, a really
Right.
beautiful plant to give as a gift to a White House staff member. And he kicked me out of the Uber and said he hated President Trump. So people are mentally ill, and we're beginning to see it more and more. People need to have God in their life. I don't care what religion you are, that's not important, but you have to have a higher calling in life, or you will become mentally ill because this world is nutbat crazy.
Yeah, it is, and you have a really good point there. I think, well, for I would say I'm going to redefine what you just said. It's a lack of purpose, but you're right. God definitely plays into it for absolutely for certain. And a lot of people, they have a lack of purpose, so they latch on to almost anything. There's just the report. There was an article in the New York Post about a week ago about the psychologist who was saying that Trump derangement syndrome, which everybody kind of tosses around kind of as a joke. He said, no, this is actually a real thing, that there are people that whatever it is about President Trump, is whether it's habitual now or whether it's become fashionable or whatever, it's literally driving people crazy. Literally, not figuratively, literally. And this is, and you just mentioned the fact we have crazy people in Congress. I mean, Christ,
Oh.
it's
It's
unbelievable.
worse.
It's
It's
worse.
worse than that. They're blackmailed. So, blackmail is very serious. I think that 90% of the members of Congress are heavily blackmailed. And I think that they're paid to do what they do through lobbyists. And it is so beyond corrupt. And no one can really report about it because it's so dangerous. And so I touch on it, minusculely, but there's very serious corruption in Congress. And they're not even mentally ill, they're blackmailed.
Okay,
You
I want you to define this. There's a subtle difference between blackmail and bribery. Are they bribed or are they actually blackmailed? In other words, I know there's a lot of crazy sex shit that happens in Congress. I know that. So are people actually being blackmailed because of their personal lives, or is it just a bribe? It's like, we'll pay you if you prop our company up or something like that.
So it's both, because most people, unless you have God in your life and a purpose, you can be bribed and bought with money, and or you can be blackmailed. And so it's both. It's a mixture of both, but the blackmail is so serious because they get you in really compromised situations. I've been already been blackmailed. I've already been blackmailed. I was interviewing a man and I said, "How come it's okay for you to say the N-word, but it's not okay for me to say the N-word?" And then someone took that and made it into like a SoundCloud and said the N word 100 times. I don't use that word. I'm not a tacky person. I'm very classy. I don't say bad words. I'm a Christian woman. And so I got blackmailed. It's very easy to get blackmailed. And they put the blackmail on the dark web, which I don't even know how to access and really, take it down. But I'm saying that blackmail is what they do to you in DC. And it's already happened to me several times. And now I'm very clear about it. There are certain parties, certain restaurants, certain bathrooms I won't go in. I can't talk in public many times because they can take your voice and tape record it. Right now, I have someone calling me on my second phone line that I always give for tips, calling me and saying they're Elon Musk. using his voice,
Yeah.
saying things he would say. So this world is going to get more wacky with
Oh, yeah.
AI.
Right, because the thing is we have AI now, so they can take a recording of your voice and they can actually fabricate the N word in your voice and stick it in the stream. I mean, it's terrible. It's
So
absolutely terrible.
my mom has Trump derangement syndrome, so I'm not spending Christmas with her. But the bottom line is this: she got a phone call a year ago saying that I was getting kidnapped with me screaming in the background.
Yeah.
And so she went to her bank and she was about to give them money, but she got the banker to call me on the phone and I told her, don't do anything. So she was smart to handle it. But this is going to happen more and more to people.
Right, and people fall for it too. I mean, I'm pretty adept with technology. I'm a computer programmer, so I understand how this stuff works, but most people don't. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. All right, I'm just moving on here because you brought this up. Speaking of January 6th, you broke the story on Brian Cole Jr. You interviewed his mother. So my question is now this guy is apparently they're saying he's a little bit on the spectrum, but his mother, from what I understand from your reporting, his mother says he didn't do it, but he confessed. And my question really is, there's a lot of people who are kind of like you maybe have mental problems that confess to stuff they don't actually do. Do you think there's any chance he didn't do it?
So what goes on is that obviously most mothers, every mother, except for the mother of the assassin of Charlie Kirk, she says her son did it. Most mothers are going to say my son didn't do it, and he's a 30-plus-year-old man living in
Right.
his mother's house, living in the basement. He got radicalized online. Now listen, of course the mother, her name is Delicia, and I love her and I cried with her and I really feel for her. I do think that potentially her son did do it, but I think that he doesn't have the mental capacity. He doesn't have the right walk. He wears very thick glasses, okay? So unless he got perfect contact lenses, he's not going to be able to do what he did at nighttime if that was him. And so the bottom line is now we're hearing that his court date was postponed from Monday to the 30th of December because they all know that we're not going to be in DC on December 30th. But I do have journalists that will be there to cover this. But that's not even the story. The story is so much deeper. If Brian Cole Jr. actually did this, he did not act alone. He got radicalized online, potentially by FBI, CIA agents, potentially by very liberal, super wealthy people funded by the Chinese Communist Party or some crazy foreign country that hates us. And so he did not do this alone because he's a very quiet kid. He walks his dog pretty much every day to the 7-Eleven. All his neighbors say it's a very quiet house. They're wealthy. They didn't ask for a give, send, go. They're not asking for money for their lawyer, John Shoreham, who's a very powerful Democrat lawyer, a criminal lawyer from New York. Now, listen, Brian Cole Sr., his father, is a very successful bail bonds person, and he has been a black rights activist. So I think the son potentially could have been a little radicalized, but there's no way the son did this alone. And that's what I'm concerned about. I want to see the real evidence. And they're saying now that the J6 committee accidentally deleted
Yeah,
more of the video footage.
of
So
course
this
they
is
did.
getting gnarly. And
Yeah,
I don't want to see a mentally ill black man thrown in prison. That's not going to be okay. And so,
right.
bottom line is that President Trump does not even know about this whole case. He knows a little bit. We're explaining to him that the lead person in the DOJ on this case was the person who got all the J6ers arrested. Her name is Jackie. I don't want to say her name deeper because I don't want her to sue me. I
No,
don't need to
no,
have all my press passes pulled.
right.
But what I'm saying is that we're finding out that the person, the team, the people that are identifying Brian Cole Jr. are actually deep state bad people that haven't been fired by the FBI or the DOJ yet.
Well, the CIA's been out of control for 60 years. I mean, the
Yeah.
problem wasn't when they were created in 47, they were actually created with no reporting or no to anyone, and that they basically ran with that. I mean, they've been running with it ever since. The interesting thing you just said there is that, I mean, we all know there's ultra liberal wealthy people that have funded a lot of stuff, but and I just wonder, are they just crazy, or is it because are they actually being are they a conduit to the Chinese Communist Party? Is that what's going on?
Yes, so there are very wealthy forces. One is China. I will never be allowed into the country of China. I can name a couple other countries, but how many more countries do I want to be banned from? I can't even go to the UK right now because I could get arrested for one tweet. So
Yeah,
what
isn't
I'm
that
saying,
unbelievable? That's
it's
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. So the bottom line is that there are very powerful, wealthy foreign countries that have worked for the last, what, 30, 40, 50 years to just constantly attack American youth and try to brainwash them into communism. We believe in our democratic republic. We believe in free market capitalism. Our founding fathers believed in God. I don't care what religion you were, they believed in one God. And so we need to get back to what our founding fathers founded America on. Because when I tell you I'm a First Amendment journalist, when I tell you that I stand up for the US Constitution, that's all I do. I don't want an innocent black man to be falsely accused. His whole life is ruined at this point.
yeah,
Obviously, he's autistic. He was on the spectrum. His mom admitted that to me. But you know how much stress his family's going through. Now, whether he did or didn't do it, there's no way that he's wise enough to act alone. He was experimenting with bomb making material in his home in 2019. You know, those, when they have the receipts, I do believe that because a lot of kids do that. And I said to the mother, you know, I'm a mother. I said, you know, your son lives with you. You need to keep track of his computer, his phones. That's the parental responsibility, even after 21 years old. Our
right.
children are our children, and it shouldn't be 18 or 21 when we stop being parents. So she and I really did connect. I'm trying to stand up for her. I do think her son was involved in some bad stuff, and I think the father knows the truth. So the father obviously is not talking to me right now, but I want to give them safe harbor in case they have a story that they want to tell where I can get them to the right people. InfoWars let me break the story. You're allowing me to break the story. Major news networks are not allowing me to break the story. And so it's very heavily censored. But I just want everyone to know that President Trump would never falsely accuse a black young man. President Trump's pardon czar, who I just talked to about a week ago at a Christmas party, is a black woman. She was in prison for years. She's beautiful. Her name is Alice Johnson. And
Yeah,
so I want people to know President Trump is not racist. He pardoned Little Wayne. He pardons tons of black people. His pardon czar is black, and we're not trying to get an innocent black man. Even if he's not innocent, we're not trying to destroy his life. So if something happens, you know, this kid needs major mental rehabilitation, but his father, he works for his father. So Brian Cole Sr. knows what's going on. Potentially Brian Cole Sr. was getting extorted and or blackmailed because he's been a bail bondsman for a lot of the BLM activists. And his first lawyer, one of his original lawyers is Ben Crump, who used to be a very active BLM activist. But I think over the last 4 years, everyone has changed. I think these people kind of like President Trump now. Now, the mother is not a Trump supporter. I'm not clear about the son. I don't think he liked the Democrats or the Republicans because the pipe bombs were in both
Oh, that's
places
right.
on January 5th and 6th. But what
Yeah,
I'm telling you is that they didn't go off. So this is way deeper than what we think it is.
yeah.
And because of the timing, he didn't work alone. This kid's not going to go by himself. It would have been a
Right.
different date. He lives 30 minutes from DC.
Yeah, and it sounds like he should probably, if anything, just get a slap on the wrist or maybe some hospitalization or something, you know?
I think he needs hospitalization. He just needs some really good mental health care that Dr. Oz could find the right person for, Secretary Kennedy. You know, these kids with autism really need help. And so I think he needs to be socialized. But he didn't like the Republicans or the Democrats. But the timing really proved he didn't do this alone. There's no way he did this alone on January 5th and 6th. There's no way.
You're like 28, 29 years old, right? You know, I just turned 70. I don't I'm shocked at what's happened to the world. I just am. I don't understand why these kids are so why there's so much autism. I don't understand why they're so out unhealthy. I mean, I joke about this with some of my high school friends, Corinne. When we were in high school 50 years ago, there was always one really fat kid, and he was mercilessly made fun of because he was so rare. Now, the majority of kids in high school are overweight. I don't believe it. It's like, I know that we're eating bad food, but are we eating that much? And then, my wife and I talk about this. I love to cook. So I cook regularly, but most Americans don't even know how to do it. It's unbelievable. I just like, what the hell happened? It's like, shit.
Well, you grew up with red meat. I'm a carnivore. I live on red meat. These children are being told, be vegan,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
eat red meat. And that's not healthy. And they're eating
No,
processed food.
you're absolutely
So
right.
all these kids need to go back to farming. They need to own a plot of land with water and farming. They need to go back to the land like our founding fathers wanted us to do. If our founding fathers didn't want us to live in big cities, they didn't want us to have major government. They wanted the federal government to protect us with the US military, which President Trump and Secretary Hedgeseth are doing, but they didn't want all this other crazy, chaotic stuff that's happening.
You're absolutely right. There's people need to eat more protein. And then, that this was a joke on the South Park, on the South Park TV show. They said, for years they're telling us don't eat processed food, and then now we have fake meat that's processed food. What the, have you ever tried the Impossible meat? Have you ever tried it?
No, I won't eat that stuff. I eat bloody red meat that's
Well, yeah,
non-vaccinated.
I tried it. I'll tell you, it doesn't taste that bad, but it doesn't taste like meat at all. There's no way in hell I'm going to have that over a steak. No, not even close. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's like, what is the point? What's the point? We have perfectly healthy cows. I mean, it's like you get a good fillet. It's, not cheap, but still, I don't know. I don't understand why we need to do this. I just don't. The cattle
Hollywood
industry is
told
so
us.
small.
Hollywood told us to be vegan. That's why we're doing it.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, okay. So, this is now, it sounds like I'm backtracking, but tell me about the Epstein thing. It's like, okay, this has been like beaten to death. Are there people in Congress who are going to be exposed here for being involved in this?
I mean, this is really deep, Jim, because do you understand who has been exposed? It's very traumatic on our side.
No, I don't know if I do.
Okay, so number one, I have investigated this for years and years. I'm in Palm Beach County right now. I've done so much investigation in Palm Beach County that a deputy sheriff called me a couple months ago and said that if I ever vote in Palm Beach County, potentially they will arrest me. So trust me when I tell you, President Trump is the reason that Jeffrey Epstein originally got arrested. They were trying to arrest the parents and family members, and the victims were trying to have Jeffrey Epstein arrested in Los Angeles, in New Mexico, in Colorado, in New York, in Palm Beach County since what, 1998, 1999, 2000. And President Trump finally kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and put his foot down and got him arrested. President Trump's not an FBI agent. I don't know why the Speaker of the House took my story and made it a little wacky. This is a real story. President Trump is the reason that Jeffrey Epstein originally got arrested. But if you see who's getting named now, it's Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon allegedly spent 2 years trying to help Jeffrey Epstein do PR and make his reputation good again. There are way deeper people involved in Jeffrey Epstein. And yes, it's in Congress, it's in Senate, and all of it hasn't come out yet because I think a lot of the original files have been destroyed.
But helping Epstein with his PR is not the same as having sex with little girls. It isn't.
Correct. But if you see the stuff that's being released, and I like Steve Bannon, I don't want to say anything
Yeah, I've always
disrespectful about
thought
him.
that
But
was a
what
good
I'm
guy too.
telling you is that if you see the pictures that are getting released, there's really graphic pictures. And Steve Bannon always uses people like Julie Kelly to report to him. And I think those are deep state Democrats. And so I want Steve Bannon to expand his reporters, and I want him to go, a little bit deeper in what he's doing because I really like him. I love his team in Washington, D.C., but I am concerned that some of the photos that have been exposed show very graphic photos of young women, and Steve Bannon sitting there, and other Republicans are sitting there. I'm not going to go into all of them right now, obviously, because I don't want to risk you or risk me from any lawsuits. But I'm saying, Steve Bannon should have known better, and I really like him, but I think it's inappropriate to help someone. Would you help someone with their PR for 2 years if they were
No,
a sex offender? I mean, come
no,
on.
no. The irony of all this to me is that the Democrats have been trying so hard to pin anything they can on Trump, and yet he's basically, at the end of the day, he's a perfect gentleman. That's the thing. He
I
kicked.
mean, that's so nice. He's not the perfect gentleman.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have time.
okay.
I have
Right,
girlfriends who dated him. He's not perfect, but he is a gentleman. He
right.
does care about America. He cares about his children. He cares about his grandchildren. And if we get him the truth, he will fight for us like no other because he can afford the lawyers. He has spent hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars on lawyers. He will fight for us when we get him the truth. There's just a lot of people around him that don't give him the truth. I'm not going to say their names because I like Susie Wiles. I like the whole team. But I'm saying when President Trump knows what's really going on, he makes the right choice and he stands up for us. And he'll sit at a table with our enemies and try to negotiate with them. He sat with stupid Bill Gates and tried to negotiate with him. So I love President Trump. I had 2,158 people approximately arrested under the Biden regime. Now I have none. They're all out of jail. Everyone I gave the most publicity to is out of jail. So when lawyers tell you don't get publicity, they're lying to you
Oh,
because
yeah, I
the
know that.
proper publicity helps you.
Right. That I figured that out a long time ago. I think, matter of fact, it bothers me that lawyers just kind of, that I understand if you're going to stick to the letter of the law, publicity is bad, but that's not the way the world works. You're working in the real world, not just in some legal bubble. So,
You need publicity. If you get arrested, you need the proper. Don't talk about the specifics of your case. Show people how emotional you are. Show people what your morals and values and ethics are. Show people who you truly are. You need publicity. So these lawyers are lying to their clients when they tell them don't talk to press because they should. And that's what I said to Brian Cole Jr.'s mother.
so if I could ask you to make a generalization here, who's screwed? Who's more immoral when it comes to the Epstein thing? The Republicans or the Democrats?
Obviously, the Republicans are way more moral, and there are a lot of Democrats being named. But the bottom line is that we don't even know the truth because the truth is that these women were obviously paid. And I am not saying anything disrespectful about that. What I'm saying is that they all have lawyers and they're getting settlement money to hush up. And I don't like that. If you're real, you don't take settlement money to hush up. You tell the truth and you inform the public. And that's why this case has been so distorted because all these women for the last 20 years were taking settlement money to stop talking and their lawyers were allowing them to do that. Millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions were made for these victims, and that's why they don't talk, and they shouldn't do that. They should talk and they shouldn't take the settlement money.
I have a liberal friend that I argued with for some time about the Me Too movement. Uh, my theory is that, and she said, well, women hardly ever lie about sexual assault, and I said, well, there's a caveat. They'll lie if there's money or fame involved. And my example is Bill Cosby. Of the roughly 50 women who've accused him, I think about half of them are lying, but half of them aren't. So he's a serial rapist for sure. But I think a lot of people just glom onto the gravy train because in America, fame equals money. Or at least people think that. It's
Well,
kind
the
of
lawyers make the settlement, and Lou Ferrigno Jr.'s mother was one of the people that Cosby raped. So I know that he did rape people, and
Oh
he
no,
did
I
drug
know.
them.
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
he raped people. I'm not saying he didn't do it. And he, like I said, if there's 50, if half of them were lying, then half of them weren't. So I mean, yeah, no, he's certainly a rapist. But I still think there are people that just glommed onto the thing just because they wanted the publicity. And
Well, the lawyers enabled them. I meant to say Brent Ferrigno Jr. That's my friend. His father is Lou Ferrigno Jr. His wife was raped by Bill Cosby. So the bottom line is that the lawyers enable it.
Yeah, but don't you think also people are just hungry for fame? Because I mean, most people's lives, Corinne, are pretty dull. I mean, they are. We don't. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, you and I live much more exciting lives than most people. We don't even think we're. I won't. You're exciting, but I'm not.
I mean, I'm traumatized every single day, so no therapy could even help me. And I just get deeper and deeper. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I have no more news to report. And then I get overwhelmed with news and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? This is crazy. So I report the news that nobody else will report. So I will never be famous. I'm censored. I was banned on Instagram for 7 weeks. Right now, one of my main emails is hacked. It's so ridiculous what I go through every day. So half my day is trying not to be censored. The other half is talking to amazing people like you who give us the real news news, the truth. And then the other half is me trying to figure out, how do I get a job? How do I get paid? What network could I work for? Potentially CBS. Larry Ellison and David Ellison just bought CBS, and their family friends, potentially they would give me a job. But I have no idea how to make money in this crazy world because the censorship is so serious. So that's why I appreciate you so much, because my news is real news and there's no censorship here.
No, I know that. I know. Are you getting by okay though? It's like,
Yeah, but I mean, I do suffer sometimes. I mean, it's a lot of money to do the hair, the nails, the makeup,
yeah,
everything I have to do, the clothes, just to look decent on TV, do the teeth. I mean, it's a lot for girls. And if you look at my competition, there's not many. It would be harder for me to be an actress in Hollywood than it is for me to get my own. It's hard for me to get my own news show. To get my own news show is harder than to be an actress in Hollywood, because there's so few of us on the Republican side. And in the White House, we Republican women, we don't stick together. And so we wait in line 3 to 5 hours before every press conference. And I get pushed and shoved by two specific, but a couple more people on our Republican side. Why would they do that? I'm short. These people are tall. Why can't we just all
it,
work
it,
together and help each other?
Corinne,
That's why the Democrats win. The
yeah,
Republicans compete and the Democrats work together. We've
right.
got to start working together on the
No,
Republican
that's
side.
true. They basically have kind of a hive mind, and the Republicans are basically independent thinkers. But that said, though, do you think that's partly just a feminine thing, the mean girls thing? I see this
Oh
all the time.
gosh.
Women just bash each other. They treat each other like crap. It's,
When I love a woman, I love her. And when I hate her, I hate her. So you're probably right. Because when I love, I will do anything for the woman. But when I hate her, I hate her. And last night I was sitting next to Liz Cronkin at this event for General Flynn and Mary Flynn. And, she and I finally really connected. But yeah, there's a lot of competition, Laura Logan, me, Liz Cronkin. Like there's a lot. And they all have their little niche. And I haven't really been involved because I've been so boots on the ground, heels on the ground. So slowly but surely they let me in. But honestly, I really don't need anyone but Jesus Christ, because my true boss is Jesus. And if Newsmax says no to me, if News Nation says I'm too controversial and they want me to be more middle of the road, if anyone says I've been doing a lot of Fox, if anyone complains, my family founded TV Guide and sold to Fox. So the bottom line is that I come from a really, really good background of understanding news. And pray for me, because the only exit strategy I have now is to do a news show. And I think that Real America's Voice and your channel and all these channels are doing such a good job, but it is very competitive. And so amongst women, it does get a little bit ruthless.
but I'm not, Corinne. I swear to God, I'm not saying this just to bullshit you here. You've got true talent. The problem. I mean, I look at this. I'm thinking about this a lot. There's a whole bunch of people on cable television that I don't understand why they're there. I'm going to use just a real good example. Abby Phillip on CNN. That woman should not be on TV. And the problem, and here's the way I look at this. You tell me if I'm wrong. I've been tangentially involved in news for many years. The problem is you got people who are good journalists. They're good writers, right? And they say, well, okay, here's another example. Jake Tapper. Let's put them on the air. These people know what they're talking about, but they don't have any personality. The problem with Philip is that she's completely humorless. I mean, there's no, I mean, it's just she's boring as hell. And I don't, people can talk about the fact that they don't agree with their politics, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that their people literally don't know how to talk. And then they stick them on TV. And the reason Fox is completely cleaning up is they actually, between Roger Ailes and Suzanne Scott, they actually recognize talent. You can talk.
I
you
can
know?
talk, and hopefully Barry Weiss, who is taking over CBS News, will realize that, because right now Barry Weiss is the most powerful woman on our side in history, and she's more moderate. And
Yeah,
so the
that's the
bottom line
amazing
is that
thing. You still wouldn't call her an actual conservative. You wouldn't. But she's on the side of at least impartiality, if nothing else.
exactly. And so I do love real news without having an opinion, but I was trained as a gonzo journalist from Hunter Thompson's widow in Aspen, Colorado. And so I do add my own little 2 cents to most every stories, but it's still real news. It's still facts. It's
Yeah.
still boots on the ground, heels on the ground journalism. I don't sit in a studio all day long. I'm always running around trying to get the news, and it's really serious news
But
that people need to take
there's nothing
seriously.
wrong with that, because you just said you admit that you're not impartial, and that's fine. I mean, I don't even claim to be a journalist. I mean, this entire show runs off of my opinion, So, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. My problem, the problem like between CNN and MSNBC or MS Now or whatever the hell they're calling themselves now, that MS Now is a liberal channel. CNN is supposed to be, and they advertise themselves as objective, and they're not. The problem with me is the hypocrisy, not what actually they're doing, And then
Yes, and so they are so biased and they won't admit it.
Yeah.
PBS is biased, NPR is biased, CNN
Right.
is totally biased. So when I interviewed the pipe bomber's mother, Delicia Cole, I was very neutral, and I have been very neutral as anyone can be. I'm saying potentially if he did do it, he didn't act alone, especially based on the timing and the fact that he wears very thick glasses and the way he walks and the way that he behaves. But the bottom line is that if he was used to do this, then, he didn't act alone. But that's impartial. I'm giving real news. CNN doesn't do that. They aren't having me
No,
on.
they don't do
CNN is not real news, and neither is
No.
MSNBC. They're fake
No.
news, and so is Politico, and so are pretty much every seat at the White House. There's 55 seats. Most of those people are totally pretending they're non-biased, and they're totally biased.
So I got to go here, but do you have any gossip from the press room?
Oh, there is always gossip, but I'm not allowed to say it. But the bottom line is that there is a lot of people trying to say that I'm unethical, because when I do news hits, I say I want you to be safe in every emergency, because I want you to go to SAT123.com and shop and buy a satellite phone of your choice. I want you to have a bulletproof backpack. I walk around with Faraday bags, bulletproof backpack, everything I need potentially in case there's an emergency. Even in Washington, D.C., shots can fire at any time, and I want you to have that. It makes the perfect holiday gift. So go to SAT123.com, and I'm getting major pushback from that from ridiculous liberal media, but they're promoting themselves at the White House.
Yeah.
So why can't I promote the way that I fund my news is with SAT123.com? So shop on. It's time for Christmas. It makes the best holiday gift, and everyone will use this. I personally guarantee it.
And yes, and you were a paid spokesman for them, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everybody's shilling for something. You got to pay the rent.
You
That's
have
all there's
to.
it. Right.
Yeah,
And then
you have to make
as
money.
long as you're upfront about it, I don't have any problem with it at all. None. I don't think anyone else should either. It's SAT123.com, SAT123.com. All sorts of I've been to the website. I've looked at that stuff. It's like it's quality crap.
And I use it all. I
Okay.
personally use it all. I'm not selling anything I don't personally use.
What do you got for the holidays? What are you doing?
So I'm going to Beverly Hills because I'm going to be investigating election corruption in Los Angeles County, and I'm going to go to all the houses that burned in my family in Malibu and Pacific Palisades. I was in the Palisades fires in January of this 2025, and I haven't been home to Beverly Hills since March because of all the drama. We had to move into a condo, and it's been very stressful in Palisades and Malibu. The air quality, the soil is destroyed for many years. So I'm going to go back and start reporting about that. And then, of course, I'm back in DC in January.
Oh, Corinne, I lived in Los Angeles for quite a few years, and what you just said almost sexually excites me. I think you go, girl, and you get that information. So we'll I don't know. I'm cutting back my schedule for January a little bit, but we'll have you back before February for sure. Okay.
Thank you. You're an incredible interviewer, and I do so many interviews, and I appreciate you so much. God bless you, and God bless your viewers. And go to SAT123 and darkbags.com because I use everything I have from both websites.
God bless you too. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. I love you, girlfriend. Don't forget it.
Aw, thank you. You make me so happy. You should be the next Steve Bannon.
Yeah, I hope so. Except, the thing is, he never showers, and he still gets way more women than I do.
I don't know anything about that, but he spent 2 years with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's not okay with me.
No, it isn't. It isn't. All right, sweetheart. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Okay, God bless you.
Bye-bye. Joining us from his home office outside of New York City, the Chief Operating Officer of Caring Professionals Incorporated, Julian Hagmann's joining us. Hi, Julian.
Hey, Jim, how are you? Thank you very much for having me.
I'm good. I'm good. Can you explain a little bit what your organization does?
Sure. Caring Professionals is a licensed home and community service agency. We've been operational in New York State for 33 years, looking after a spectrum of the home and home-based needs for elderly and disabled individuals.
And what's your personal background? How'd you get into this?
So I've been in home care in New York State for over a decade. Started from the ground up, and have worked in pretty much every department that there is throughout the home care spectrum to really come up with a comprehensive suite of options for my clients.
So your publicist put out a release a few days ago saying that the scam in New York State was worse than what's going on in Minnesota. What is going on in New York State? Can you explain this?
So absolutely. So in New York State, the high level, there was a no bid contract, which occurred in last year's budget. Through that process, created a state sanctioned monopoly for a specific home and community program that is, provided countrywide, but specifically in New York, it was responsible for 250,000 members and 350 to 375,000 workers.
And shall I assume that organization with the monopoly is not yours, right?
That would be correct.
and is this a state-run organization or is it a privately run organization?
It is private equity owned organization.
What is the 1199 SEIU union? What's that?
So it's a 1199 SEIU is a home care labor union. And what they are trying to do is, do what any union is good at doing. They see money and a workforce that's ununionized, and they want to go and try and unionize that workforce to garner, dues. And so, they have been secretly going around handing out unionization cards to this entire workforce. But it raises many, many questions in the eye of traditional labor because, there's in this kind of home care, it's one-on-one. A family member is hiring, a cousin, a neighbor, or something like that to come in and take care of them. And that's the entire workforce, right? And so it's not, it's a one-on-one workforce, and there's nothing that a union can come in and sort of work on rights with, right?
Right.
Especially in New York State, where minimum wage is high. There's a home care add-on for minimum wage in New York State. Benefits are mandated, right? So what is good for the labor union to come in? Doesn't make any sense.
No, well, it never makes any sense.
But especially in this instance, it's an employer of one person, maybe two people. All right? And there's 250,000 employers, but instead they're able to consolidate everything under this one fiscal intermediary and go to that one new company that's managing the payroll and the billing and say, hey, I'm going to unionize this workforce. Give me a cut.
So is this a design of the New York State government?
I think it's a design by 1199 SEIU and, by way of New York State government. In New York, we always have a saying that 1199 is the third branch of government or fourth branch of government, right? You have the governor, you have the Senate, you have the Assembly, and then you have 1199 SEIU.
All right, okay. What's Governor Hochul specifically? How is she involved in this?
So this goes back to pre-budget last year. Where they were touting, they need efficiencies, they want economies of scale, and so Governor Hochul, ignored the legislative voice, right? In terms of the Senate Assembly speaker, Senate and Assembly, health speakers, completely backtracked and said, we need to do this. We need to find this cost savings. You keep referring to everything as cost savings, cost savings. And, this was orchestrated by her office. most recently, the Empire Center, which is a watchdog of New York State government, received a FOIA response back regarding this issue. And in that response back from the FOIA shows that the governor's office, as well as the director of Medicaid for the Department of Health, met with the individuals that won the bid prior to the budget even being public, where it was talking about the RFP that was going to be submission.
Oh my God. Government corruption. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it, huh? So,
And just to put a scale on it, just so you know, this is $11 billion a year.
right. That was exactly what I was going to ask you. Well, this organization that's trying to monopolize this union, are they succeeding? Like, what are people actually paying these union dues, or has it not gotten to that point yet?
I don't believe it's gotten to that point yet. But yeah, the company that won the bid, they took everything over this past April, right? And so they they have the monopoly on that. So I'm assuming that they're helping 1199 in any which way they can to ensure that that workforce gets enough of the cards handed out so they can take the vote and go through the whole rigmarole.
If every single person who was actually doing this actually paid the membership dues, how many people would it be?
It would be the entire workforce, right? Because they would get the whole workforce. So it would be around 350,000 people.
Holy Christ.
Yeah, so it's about 200. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. What does the actual union do they're proposing? How much would these people pay per person?
So that I don't have any specifics on. I haven't seen any of the cards that they're passing out or
what's typical. $100?
No, so it's hourly, right? And so it's $2 and change an hour. And if you want to, just do rough math, you can say the average utilization per week of a consumer is, say, 20 hours, right? So 20 hours times 250,000 consumers across the state is how many hours per week times $2 and change. And so you're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. So what are you trying to do about it?
So I'm trying to bring to light through discovery a lawsuit I have against the company that was awarded the bid. Right, we have a very, very strong foundation showing inaccuracies in terms of affirmations and sworn affidavits by individuals in this company that were discussing the bid, as well as DOH members. We have Amir Basari on a meeting that was with the individuals that won the bid prior to the budget coming out that even mentions that there's going to be a request for proposals. We have the graded proposals from two of the individuals that submitted bids. And guess who they signed off by?
Who?
Amir Basiri. I mean, it's like they weren't trying.
Yeah. Could the governor stop this if she wanted to?
The governor has full power to do whatever she wants to do. She's the governor. Right? In New York, in terms of health programs and stuff like that, that's all at a stroke of her pen.
I'm going to ask you just to get beyond your immediate issue here. It appears that the news this morning is that the Republicans are going to sign on to the Obamacare extension. I don't know if you've heard that. Mm-hmm. So my theory is that basically, or feeling is that basically Obamacare was just a flawed bureaucratic boondoggle from the beginning. And I've always said it's either going to be repealed or changed beyond recognition, one or the other. What are your feelings on this?
I think it'll be changed, right? I mean, they listen. If you like the name, keep the name, but change the meat, right?
You're right. Yeah, that's my point. Right. Exactly. Right. It'll be named. It'll keep the name, but it'll be something. Basically, it'll end up being something totally different. Right. Yeah. So you think that's what you think too?
That's what I think too. And I know my issue is very New York centric. But I can tell you that this is happening on a nationwide scale. I've done a lot of research with attorneys and analysts and dug into the company that won the bid, right? It's Public Partnerships LLC is the company that won the bid. They're a very large, well, before New York, they weren't too large, but now they're the largest because New York was the largest market.
Mhm.
player in that self-directed space. Their owns 26% of this company is owned by Public Consulting Group, and Public Consulting Group, they are consultants in every state. And what do they consult on? You're going to ask. They consult on Medicaid programs, manage long-term care, home care, nursing homes, all of this kind of stuff. Hundreds of millions of dollars to the tune, right? How is it that that company who owns the company that won the bid, additionally to that, consults on the exact program in which this program lies, right? How could they have ownership of a contract winner?
Well, I'll answer your question. The whole thing's a giant scam. And the public is finally starting to get a clue on this, it seems, too.
Absolutely. And this is a bipartisan issue. We have Senator Skoufis and Senator Rivera, both Democrats in New York State, that have filed that there was a Senate hearing on this issue. There's a Senate investigation on this issue. Those are both leaders in their Democratic parties. Additionally, Richie Torres has come out and asked for DOJ for an investigation. And then additionally, right, we as recent as Elise Stefanik came out and wanted an investigation. I mean, I have every single member of the Senate and Assembly delegation for the GOP signed on to a letter wanting an investigation, and there has been no investigation. I know that DOJ is investigating it because I've spoken with them at length about many different topics. I know that they're still speaking with people, but it's my real skin in the game here is this lawsuit against public partnerships to get the discovery, to show that there was irregularities or whatever you would like to refer to them as, and bring it to the public and show that listen, I was on the ground. I knew something was up from day one. And, it's sort of one of those things. You got to trust your gut. And so you have to sue. You have to get in there. You have to get the discovery. You have to do the digging and, come back with the results and show to prevent this from happening in the future.
Yeah, it just seems like both the federal and state governments in the United States have become so freaking bureaucratically complicated that it seems like anybody can pull off almost anything. I mean, is it any wonder that the average person is so cynical?
Well, it's funny to me that because I talk to my buddies about this, right? And they roll their eyes. I'm like, not all this is true.
No, I don't think anyone's doubting that. The thing is, like, okay, like even if you solve this problem and you get justice here, it's just going to happen again, isn't it? I mean, that's the problem. It happens over and over again.
But you need the show. I always feel like, because in my industry, I'm the last one fighting. Right. That's it. After me, you're right. That's no one else is going to be stepping up to plate. And that's, a lot of the issues across the different states, right? No matter what the industry is, I always hear about through associations. Oh, we'll let the big guys take care of it. We'll let the big guys take care of it. I wasn't considered a huge guy. I might've been, semi-large, but I wasn't one of the big guys.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And I know you can't come in as, if it's eminent domain and take a business that was being built for the past 33 years. It's just
right.
Right. It just doesn't feel right. And it wouldn't be right to do to my company or myself or just not fight it. I mean, I had to lay off 60% of my workforce, my administrative workforce, when this transition occurred back in April. I mean, I had to look at 60% of my employees in the eyes and say, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. The New York State stole the program in which you're working.
Julian, is this a public partnership corporation? Is it for profit or nonprofit?
It's all for profit.
And is your organization is for profit too, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any opinion on what, I'm sitting here in Minneapolis, so I'm totally familiar with the thing that's going on in Minnesota. Do you have any opinions on this here? How does a bunch of people screw the federal government out of $250 million? How does that happen?
I don't know how it happens. No, people falling asleep at the wheel. It seems like no one's double checking anything. It just that's just sort of what it seemed when you get into these state agencies and everything like that. It's something either takes 4 years to get through, or you can get through in a week, right?
Yeah.
And it's there's no rhyme or reason to anything. And when it comes to sort of state government and moving things along like that, if someone was having a good day and they rubber stamped something they shouldn't have rubber stamped, or they went out to dinner the night before with somebody, who knows what happened, right? I mean, until the investigation comes out, which will be very interesting to hear.
And then you wonder about the investigations. You have investigations of investigations. Almost that's almost where we're getting.
Yeah.
What's next in your personal dilemma here with public partnership? What's next?
So this is it, right? I mean, I have my lawsuit that's being finalized, and we're going to submit the final papers. That'll be decided in the next couple of months, in terms of whether I'm allowed discovery or not. After that, right? I mean, I'm still focused on diversifying and restructuring after this devastating hit I took. Right?
And, what do you want the public to know? Anything else other than what you've already said?
No, I want the public to be aware of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is these takeovers of these programs, right? It's a hostile takeover, but it's being planned for years. And who always look at who's the benefit, right? And it always seems to go back to the same people, the very large private equity companies with the unlimited PACs, and it goes back to the unions. Because the unions always have the voice in the state legislator's ear, and they push their objective. It could take a year, it could take 2 years, but that's what the PE does. They have enough money to hang out and wait around until it's the time to strike, and get in there.
Do you think it's? I mean, if you look nationwide, it seems like right now, if you ask most people if they want to join a union, the answer is actually no. Like in right to work states. People the non-union workers have basically prevailed. And do you think that my theory is that's because so many unions have been so corrupted and screwed their members and no one wants to do it anymore? Do you think there's any truth to that?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I also think there's truth to, what the advocacy groups do in terms of ensuring, a fair rate of pay across the country. I know, in New York, New Jersey, in my neck of the woods, that's been a mainstay for the grassroots organization. And they've done a wonderful job in terms of raising the floor of their minimum wage and their earnings, and ensuring that, they're getting time and a half on overtime and all of this stuff. So once they're doing all this, what is the point of the union? I don't see a point of the union.
Yeah.
They were around to ensure fair equality and fair access and fair rates of pay. Once all that is law, what's left for them to do?
Right. That's my feeling too. 60 years ago, it might have been necessary. It's like public broadcasting. 60 years ago, public broadcasting might have been necessary. I don't. It's the same thing. These are now outmoded concepts. At least the way I look at it.
I agree.
Yeah. I want to thank you for joining us today. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah. You take care. All right. We'll talk to you.
Well. Bye-bye.
Our thanks to Corinne Clifford and Julian Hagmann for joining us today. This is the part of the show that we call the Gymcast. Normally it'd be part 2, but we had 2 interviews tonight, so I guess it's part 3. I want to talk about the new Steven Spielberg movie that's coming out in June of this coming year. It's called Disclosure Day. The trailer for it was released today. It's supposedly, from people who've seen it, it's a UFO horror movie, essentially. Of course, he did Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977, which was a tale, I guess. But this apparently pours on the horror aspect of aliens a lot more, supposedly. I have a trailer here. I'm going to show it to you directly off of YouTube. Here we go.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today is... Today's...
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown. They're coming! They're coming! They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
I should tell you that the trope they're using there, where she's starts speaking in front of the weather map and then ends up basically with clicks and pops coming out of her mouth, that's a reference to supposedly there's an alien species that uses clicks and pops as their language, supposedly. So I predicted on this show several times now in the last few months, and I'm going to say it again, that I think that between December 2028 and January 2029, after the 28 election and before Trump leaves office, at some point he will disclose the fact that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth, because I think he will want the credit for it, because the president that announces this is going to be known in history for thousands of years. And I think he will do that. And he'll do it just before he leaves office. It doesn't have the same weight as if he's out of office. It doesn't. And not only that, there's also the information stream I have is that Trump initially didn't believe in this stuff until he was briefed. And now he says he's still talking about the fact he doesn't believe in it, but it's not really a lie. He may not believe in it, but apparently he has come to accept, people behind the scenes have said he has come to accept this as fact now. So it's really interesting. That's the reason I'm talking about it, obviously. So the late, great Jazz Shaw was a UFO writer that came on the show on a regular basis. I had him on about once a quarter for years. And he passed away in October of last year, October 24, of cancer. And the only thing that him and I really ever disagreed on was the nature of disclosure, and that is telling the public in an official capacity that the extraterrestrials have been coming here. Because he said he thought the American public was ready for it. And my response to that, which I guess he kind of reluctantly ended up adopting, is that I was a little more nuanced, because I said, well, the problem, Jazz, is that if you tell the American public, you tell the world, and the American public may be ready for it, but I don't know if a lot of the rest of the world is. I mean, getting back to Trump's comments on Somalia about the fact that it's a shithole country, there's no denying, I don't think, I mean, you can argue with me, and I'm sure some of you will, that there's about a third of the countries on the planet, a third of the 192 countries, are basically living a couple hundred years behind the United States. And those people for whatever religious reasons or the fact they literally can't wrap their minds around it, I don't know if they will buy it. And you might have people jumping out of tall buildings where there are tall buildings. Now, the other thing is there's a certain percentage of the American public who's plainly obvious now who simply refuses to believe this. It's not a matter of evidence, because I've said, if you want to talk about evidence, now I have no smoking gun. I can't give you absolute proof. But if you're talking about circumstantial evidence, I could stand up in a courtroom for months every single day and give you another piece of evidence. And that's the reason I've come around to this, is that there's so much evidence. It's unbelievable. Once you dive into this, the evidence is mind-boggling. And then on top of that, you have there's another movie that came out called The Age of Disclosure last month, which is a documentary. 34 former and present military and political figures get on camera and say this is actually happening, that the extraterrestrials have been coming here. And the most prominent one is Marco Rubio. Now, he has tried to walk this back a little bit the last few days. He said, well, I'm not saying that it's happening, but other people are saying it's happening. He's kind of sort of hedging and fudging on it a little bit. But in the movie, he does say that. He also says in the movie his comments were edited out of context. He says that too. But the fact of the matter, it's there, and he's talking about it. And there's other people. Jim Sullivan talks about the fact that not only does he know what's happening, he said he saw the alien bodies and touched the alien spacecraft himself. He says that. Now, you could not believe, you could go out and say all these people are lying, but like a friend of mine said, it'd be very, very difficult to get all 34 of those people to lie convincingly together. And especially because, these are people who swore oaths to protect the Constitution of the United States. All of them did. They're either military or political figures. So the chances of all 34 of them lying are almost zil. Now, I can say that's evidence, but there's a lot of people, it doesn't matter what you say or show them. I mean, we have there's been pieces of spacecraft people have found that have been analyzed and couldn't have been made on Earth, all sorts of stuff like this. It doesn't matter how much evidence you get them, they won't believe it. And in some cases, it might be a religious thing. I've talked about this before too, and Jazz also talked about this at length, about the fact that in the Pentagon, and this was as of a year ago, but as far as I know, this is still going on. There's a huge struggle there's a certain faction of people who are highly religious who think this entire subject is basically demonic, and they think the best way to make it go away is to not talk about it. So they're completely against any disclosure of any kind, because they don't think it's people from outer space or even people from another dimension. They think it's the devil. I'm literally talking about this now. They actually think it's the devil, and they think it should just be that by talking about it, you are encouraging and acknowledging it. There's that. And then you get the people who simply can't. I mean, I have a friend of mine who says, yeah, well, it's obvious there's extraterrestrials because of the number of stars and planets in the universe. But he says they can't get here. You can't go faster than the speed of light. Well, we already know how they do this. We can't muster up the electro power and the energy to do it, but we know how it's done now. And it wasn't, I can talk about Bob Lazar and his 1992 lecture and all that sort of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, our scientists figured it out on our own. That I can never pronounce this guy's name. Miguel Albuquerque is his name, a Mexican physicist. He figured it out like 20, 30 years ago, how it's done. But like I said, we can't do it. We don't have the technology to do it, but we understand how it's done now. So I don't think that's any big deal either. I'm talking about this because I want you, dear viewer, to actually wrap your mind around the fact that this is an inevitability. I don't know. I'm 70 years old. I don't know if this is going to happen during my lifetime. Like I said, I do think at the end of his term, at the very end, I am predicting that Donald Trump will make this announcement. But how people handle it, and so this movie is about that disclosure, disclosing this to the public. And It's a touchy issue. I mean, I'm talking about it right now, but of course I'm a nobody. So, it doesn't, in that way, it doesn't count. But if somebody, like the president or somebody, the head of a major country stood up and talked about it, uh, how would people react? And I don't. Here's the amazing thing. The reason I brought that up is because I'm talking about it. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. I just don't. I know that sounds absurd. It sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I don't think I am. Like I said, I'm a nobody. I can tell you. We can talk about this. And also I know a lot of you think I'm nuts, and that's fine too. I don't care at this point. But whether it should be like quote unquote official, or whether the Vatican should do it. I mean, there's been a rumor for years that the Vatican actually has proof of this. And they have said some really weird things over the past few years. I think it was in 2018, the official astronomer of the Vatican, and like I pointed out before, yes, they have an official astronomer. They actually have an astronomy department. They have two official Vatican telescopes. One's outside of Rome, and believe it or not, one's in Arizona, the United States, that actually belong to the Vatican. And they've gone on record saying numerous times that proof of extraterrestrial life doesn't necessarily mean that Jesus didn't exist or wasn't valid. And it's almost like they're trying to head this off at the pass. That's almost the proof you get. In 2019, this was published in the Vatican newspaper. The clear blue, there's nothing prompted it. It's just that on the front page, there's the chief astronomer of the Vatican saying, extraterrestrials may exist, and that doesn't mean Jesus didn't, or that he wasn't the savior of the world. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. This movie might be interesting too. Now, Spielberg wrote the story for this movie himself. There's a guy, I can't remember the guy who actually is one of his longtime collaborators, actually wrote the script, but the story is his. It's an original story. And he did direct the movie, not just produce it. I mean, lately he's been doing more producing than directing, but he directed this. And there's another thing on this too. There's been rumors for years that if the federal government didn't pay Spielberg to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977, that they maybe actually kind of encouraged him. So the finale of that movie, if you remember, when the alien spacecraft lands and the aliens get out, and our hero, oh God, what's his name? Oh shit, Richard Dreyfuss, actually goes with them. That supposedly is based on a 1971 event that happened at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, where supposedly a flying saucer landed and beings got out and interacted and talked with American military officials, supposedly. That's supposedly what that's based on. Now, like I said, it's all supposed. I have no proof. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea if that's true at all. But there's been the rumor has been for years that the government is very slowly trying to acclimate the public. I mean, slowly over the case of 50 or 60 years has been trying to acclimate the public to get them used to this idea that the aliens are real. And now lately, it seems like this is more and more coming to the fore all the time. So I would certainly Steven Spielberg doesn't need the money, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he got a few pointers from the Pentagon and on this movie. It wouldn't about doing it. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least. Supposedly that's apparently been acknowledged that he did talk to the Pentagon about Close Encounters in 1977, making certain that he had certain facts and details right, supposedly. But at any rate, I think that's going to happen soon, relatively soon. There's also, I'll bring this up too, on Polymarket. There's a betting going on that's going to happen before the end of this month. I don't see that myself, but whatever. The people gone nuts on this about the fact that it's going to happen before December 31st this month. I don't think it will, but we'll see. I've been wrong before. I was wrong once in 1972. I was in high school. Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Once again, our thanks to Corinne Clifford and Julian Hagmann for joining us today. Now, I can't remember, who do we have on tomorrow? I know we have on. Oh, Leslie Corbley's going to be here tomorrow. She's pushing her book, Progressive Prejudice, Exposing the Devouring Mother, that came out on October 21st. We had her booked, I think, on October 23rd, and she had a family emergency. So it's a little makeup. And Santa. Santa's going to be here tomorrow, too. And then we're taking 2 weeks off for the holidays, and we'll be back on Monday, January 5th. So thanks for joining us. Yeah, you missed the president's speech, but you'll hear what it's about. He's talking all the time. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. I'm Jim Peters. Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.